So Howard Schultz went on MSNBC, and Ali Velshi proceeded to hand him his ass on a platter. Here they are debating, I think, the national debt and income inequality.
The country cannot continue to print money. We are going to run out of money. We're going to run out of resources, and it is a national security issue. It will be an issue. And in terms of the socialism in which the Democrats are now espousing issues that are so foreign from our democratic process and free enterprise system, if Bernie Sanders, who says publicly, I am a socialist, if he gets the nomination for the President of the United States, Donald Trump is going to get reelected. And for some reason, if Bernie Sanders is going to be the next President of the United States, that would be a disaster for our country and a disaster for the economy.
You said that. Ray Dalio said something about this the other day. Jamie Dimon said it. And you know what? A lot of Americans knew this a long time before you really rich guys started talking about how bifurcated America is. And that's where we are today. So do you get why some people don't really think that you've got all the answers, that you rich guys who are, I don't know who told you that America's bifurcated. Somebody came to you and told you that there's a problem because the rest of America's been living it.
I appreciate you calling me a rich guy, but I grew up in federal, I
understand, but now you're a really rich guy.
But I'm self-made, and I built a company that employed over 3 million people over the last 40 years and gave health care, ownership, and free college tuition to every employee.
What you get when you rich guys get into the bifurcation conversation that the rest of us have been having for decades.
Yeah, but this is about a lack of leadership and a government of two sides, Democrats and Republicans, who are unwilling to face the issues and solve America's problem. Why do we have a $22 trillion debt? Why do we have a healthcare crisis? Why do we have K through 12 that's not working? Why is our standing in the world not working? Because of both parties' ideology and unwilling to work together. That's why I'm considering running for president.
So why is everybody
to break the system?
If that's true, why is Britain bifurcated? Why is France bifurcated? Why is Germany bifurcated? Why were the Arab countries bifurcated? It's not actually about Democrats and Republicans. It's about rich people who don't pay taxes, who don't understand that it's not about charity. It's actually about wealth distribution. Right? If that's your explanation, why is Britain bifurcated?
Now we're going to talk about what's going on.
No, but you're telling me that our bifurcation, economic bifurcation in America is because of Democrats and Republicans not agreeing on policies? Why is Britain bifurcated?
I'm talking about the lack of leadership and understanding of the fiscal responsibility of elected officials to do the right thing for the American people.
So in each case that I just outlined, but that's because that's not the answer in all those countries, and yet the world is bifurcated.
I'm not here talking about all these countries.
But you're saying that the reason we're economically bifurcated is because of Republican and Democrat policies, and I'm telling you it's a global issue of wealth concentration, not actually about political disagreement on policies.
You want to talk about each country? You want to put China up here?
No, but I think we can cut this any way you want, right? How many rich people in America have the wealth of the bottom half of society? How many rich people in the world have the same wealth as the bottom 3.5 billion in society? Oxfam says it's 28. Under 10.
Listen,
about 28?
I didn't create the policies that we are now under. I'm here to tell you that I am looking at the current situation economically in this country, and if you want to solve the problems, you have to have the kind of leadership that cooperates with one another and is not steeped in ideology.
Okay, then
I'm
Howard,
sure you
but
can
here's
agree
the
with
issue.
that.
But then
I guess I don't understand how that.
You know how that works?
But you can go from ideology.
I'm really clear on how economic bifurcation works. I'm concerned.
Not bifurcation, solving the problem.
Right, so Republicans and Democrats not agreeing is why Germany is bifurcated?
Can I ask you one simple question?
Yeah.
Should we be spending less than we're taking in?
It's not a yes or no. It's absolutely not a yes or no
question.
No, it's really not. If you're in a recession and you need to stimulate the economy and you have got a return on investment. Hold on, let me just you ask me a question.
We're not in a recession.
Right, but the answer in that case might be yes.
Yeah.
So it's not a yes or no question. So suggesting that spending more than you're taking in.
How about right now? In this moment in time when you just put up these numbers about the economy going so well, should we be spending less than we're taking in?
We have to understand what we're spending.
You don't want to answer the question.
No, I'm actually answering it in a nuanced way that doesn't suggest that there's a simple answer to these complicated questions that plague the world.
Okay, in all fairness, it's not complicated to me.
I understand
when we have such a robust economy and we're spending much more than we're taking in. And why? Because the Democrats and Republicans and this president are not doing what they need to do.
Right.
That is to reduce this national debt that we have.
Howard Schultz doesn't understand how anything works. He really doesn't. And that was embarrassing. And he should probably drop out, even though he hasn't officially announced yet. But that was bad. All this, national debt fear-mongering. That's not going to get you any votes. That's not going to get you any votes. Now, he could argue, well, it's important anyway, and I would say, not really. No, it's really not. It's really not. It's not as important as you think it is. It's not nearly as important as you think it is. We have our own currency. We are the world reserve currency, and if we run deficits, it's not the end of the world. And you had Ali Velshi there trying to explain that to him. Trying to say, like, okay, no, hold on now. A government is not the same as a household, so you have to balance your budget as an individual. No, the government doesn't have to do that, especially in times of recession. You actually do want a deficit spend, because that's going to stimulate the economy. That's Keynesianism 101. Now, the thing is, I don't think he has a full understanding of any of this stuff. Like, I don't think Howard Schultz knows the difference between Austrian economics, Keynesian economics, MMT, modern monetary theory, as it's called. I don't think he's familiar with, like, one of the points that modern monetary theory economists make, which I think is true because it just reflects itself through the history of economics in the U.S., is that public deficits, so running up the annual deficit and running up the national debt, that actually leads to private surpluses. So in other words, the private sector, the economy, is going to do well when you're running a public deficit. Why? I don't know. Think about it. I mean, yeah, think about it kind of like a credit card in a way, where, let's say you buy like a used car or something, or you lease a car and you put it on the credit card. Technically, now you're running a deficit because you're putting it on the credit card. So now you owe money and it's on the credit card, but you also have the stimulative effect of now having the car and driving it and using it. But again, the breakdown and the difference is, in Howard Schultz's mind, it's like, well, you have to pay for that right away, and if you don't, that's dangerous. When the reality is, again, a government does not function like a household. Since we have our own currency, we control our own currency, we're the world reserve currency, we can run deficits. People have been predicting that Japan is going to go into a massive recession, and they've been saying it since like the 1990s. And what are they basing it on? They're basing it on the fact that they run high deficits, they have a lot of debt, but they control their own currency, so the recession hasn't come. So he doesn't, like, I don't think he's familiar. It's one thing if he's familiar with Keynesianism and MMT and he has arguments against it. Hey, here's why I think that's wrong. But I just don't think he knows any of it. He's just like one of those guys like, I don't know, debt's always bad. It's always bad, so we gotta fix that. No, Howard, I know your fucking billionaire ass is comfy as fuck, but when you got, like, single mothers in Cleveland who are struggling to pay the bills, they don't wake up every morning like, we should really address this national debt problem. No, they're saying I gotta get fucking health care, and I gotta, I'm not making enough money, I need to join a union so I can make more money, or I need a living wage, or, the fucking road I take to work is crumbling and my tire blew out the other day because of the giant potholes. Hey, maybe we should do an infrastructure bill. Like, the stuff regular people think about is not what fucking Howard Schultz is talking about, man. He's just so out of touch. So his national debt fear-mongering can go take a goddamn hike because it's useless, it's fucking meaningless, and it makes no sense. And I like how he tried to object to being called rich. He's like, yeah, you call me rich, but I grew up in public housing. Bitch, you're a billionaire now! The year's not 1968, asshole! What the fuck are you objecting to? He's such a... He's a triggered little snowflake billionaire. And then he goes on to argue, and I like Ali Velshi was trying to stick to the point of, like, no, the problem is income inequality and wealth inequality. That's the problem, and that's what's leading to all these societal ills. And Howard Schultz can't help himself but to say, like, no, it's because there's no leadership and because Democrats and Republicans aren't coming together. What? And then Ali Velshi's point was, well, hold on, but we also are seeing these giant issues pop up in Britain and pop up in France, and is the reason why they're in trouble also because Democrats and Republicans aren't getting along? And of course the answer to that is no. The answer to that is maybe it has a lot more to do with the Oxfam fact that they brought up, and by the way, he's closer to correct than she is. I think it's like 8 now, actually. The 8 richest people have more than the bottom 50%. So 8 richest people have more than like 3.5 or so billion people. So that has a lot more to do with our problems. But no, all he does, he has nothing but like platitudes. So what does he do? Well, what we need is people who are not ideological, and we need leadership. Howard, everything is ideological. Everything. You think you're non-ideological, but you're not non-ideological. What you are is in the middle of the Overton window in Washington, D.C., which has center-right Democrats and far-right Republicans. So you're just a standard right-wing corporatist. That's what you are. You're socially liberal, but you're a standard right-leaning corporatist. That's what you are. I know you don't like labels, but that doesn't mean they don't apply to you. Okay? It's like if Bernie was like, I don't like being called a social democrat. I don't give a fuck if you don't like it. It's what you are. It's a factual description of what is. So we need non-ideological. There's no such thing as non-ideological. There's no such thing as non-ideological. There's no such thing as non-ideological. You get the occasional person who's in a weird place on the political spectrum, fine. But there's no such thing as non-ideological, you fucking doofus. How old are you? You never thought this shit through and you're running for president? And then he always goes back to leadership. We need What does that mean? That doesn't mean anything. Leadership. We need leadership. That doesn't mean anything, Howard. How will one lead? What direction will they go in? And why is that the better direction? You're just fucking copy and pasting flowery words over very difficult and complex conversations. A conversation that Ali Velshi is trying to have with you right now. Hey, maybe it's more about the income inequality and the wealth inequality as to why the fabric of all these countries is being ripped apart as we speak. And the problem, by the way, is not that Democrats and Republicans don't agree. It's that they agree too much. And as a general rule, 90% of the time, when they agree, they're fucking over regular people. Case in point, Democrats and Republicans just came together about a year ago to do more Wall Street deregulation, which is going to speed up our next crash. That seems like a bad problem to me. Another thing they came together for was to increase the executive branch's NSA spying powers. So Donald Trump is a thin-skinned lunatic maniac, but we should let him spy on everybody and collect their metadata and all that stuff. The Democrats agreed with the Republicans on that. And the list goes on and on. The list goes on. They just came together to do multi-billion-dollar increases to our already offensively bloated and gross military budget. As our country's crumbling, we got billions more to go fucking police the rest of the world and do offensive wars. The problem is not that they don't agree, Howard. The problem is that they agree too much, and the priorities are insanely shitty. And the thing about Howard Schultz that's so frustrating to me is that he seems to be unaware that he thinks he's like this anti-establishment outsider, but all of his arguments are the wet dream of the establishment. So he's like, don't you guys want to change? Why not stop electing Democrats and Republicans to do the same old bullshit and elect me, an outsider independent billionaire, to do the same old bullshit as I pretend like I'm revolutionary? But you're not revolutionary. Not even close. And finally, this motherfucker, he says one more time, if Bernie Sanders is the nominee, Donald Trump will win. No, Howard, if you run, it's likely Donald Trump wins. All you got to do is chip away 3% of the vote, 4% of the vote, and that massively helps Donald Trump. So for him to act like, I'm so concerned about Trump winning, then drop out, bitch, or run as a Democrat. Okay? But don't give me this nonsense. And funny enough, let's say in the inconceivable scenario that would never happen of Howard Schultz running as a Democrat and him winning the nomination, that's when Trump would win. I would put every last dollar I had on Donald Trump winning an election against Howard Schultz. You want to know why? Because nobody likes you. Your base is a couple dozen DC insider assholes and a couple New York Wall Street executive goons. That's who your base is. You have no base. You're the establishment's sack coddler, bro. That's what you are. You have no fans. Nobody likes you. Donald Trump would destroy your ass as you fucking gaslight everybody and act like, concern trolling. If Bernie's nominated, Trump will win. If Bernie's nominated, Bernie wins in a landslide. The hard part for Bernie is the primary. Once he gets to the general, it's game, set, match, son. And again, I'd bet every dollar I have on that. But Howard Schultz has no clue what he's talking about, and it's beyond embarrassing.